Let's just go with Andre
I feel
because
like
I like this.
Okay. He was when you were last deployed, is that correct?
Mhm.
How old is he now?
He's 2.5.
Okay.
He's so cute.
Kristen, hearing from your mom and your sister that they both think that daycare would be a good option and help them take care of him a little bit better, what are your responses to that? How do you feel about that now?
I understand, and I'm open to it. I definitely think like it would help them both out. I guess it's just kind of a control thing, like that because I'm not here, I don't get to make decisions, even though I'm his mother. Like that's hard for me, I guess. Like I feel like their opinions mean more because they're the ones watching him versus me being his mother making decisions for him. But I don't have a say because I'm not the one here every day.
I'm interested in how you maintain contact with Andre when you're gone.
I mean, it's different every deployment. Sometimes I can like Skype with him, and sometimes we can talk on the phone, but since he's so young, like writing emails and stuff is usually our easiest form, but I can't do that with him because he's so little. My mom keeps me updated though with things going on, and she lets me know like if ever he like does something funny or different things like that.
This time will be easier because he can talk to her. First time he couldn't talk.
So the Skyping will have more meaning for him this time than it did when he was
See her and
an
understand.
infant, of
Yes.
course.
Kristen, you said that it feels like you don't have much control because you're gone and you're away, and that scares you about daycare. What would it look like for you guys to go look at daycares together before you're deployed?
I would definitely want us to go together, and I would definitely want my mom and sister to join me just because they do have so much like responsibility in his like upbringing, and I want to make sure that we can all agree on the right place for him before we decide.
What are some of the criteria you would want to utilize in finding the daycare for Andre?
I think the most important thing would just be that he's not just there to like play, like I have some sort of structure to it, so he's like sitting and learning things, or like definitely having playtime, but I want to make sure like there's structure, I guess, so that he's not just running wild all day long. And then obviously like the financial side of it's a little concerning, make sure it's like within a good budget.
In real life, I'd ask how much money they have for daycare.
Professor Collins, I'm trying to find a way to word this without sounding like manipulative. But how would I say, like, if you put aside your troubles and your feelings, what would you see as the best option for me, for Andre? Does that make sense at all?
I'm still trying to track. You're wanting to ask
I'm
Mom.
gonna ask-
He's saying if she could think objectively without emotion, how would she decide for him?
Without emotion or without control, or like thinking just for his benefit, what's best for him, without thinking of like, oh, well, this might be uncomfortable for me, or this would put a strain on this person. I don't even know if it would be appropriate to ask that question.
I don't know that it's inappropriate. I guess I'm trying to think about whether somebody could answer it. I mean, sometimes we can help them understand what it means to put aside put aside personal investment and go for the objective, and sometimes it's, but it never hurts to try. So one could ask, I don't know, we were getting close to the words a minute ago. How would it be if you were able to focus entirely on what's best for Andre as opposed to what makes you most comfortable?
What would that look like?
I feel like
That's
we
still
have to
not
find
quite it.
what's best. social interaction with other children is helpful, but that may not even be a concern in her head. So like, I feel like it would be more helpful to get like really specific about like, tell me how you define like what's best for them. Like, what do you think about social interaction with other kids? What do you think? You know, I don't know.
So that gave me an idea. We could ask them what the pros and cons are of daycare over individual care.
Yeah,
And then we could be pushing them into thinking about those pros and cons.
that's where I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Okay. So pose the question and see what they do.
Kristen, what are the pros and cons of having Andrew go to daycare?
Well, I mentioned the cons are that he's probably not gonna get as much attention as he would just being with my mom, and that he could potentially have behavior problems and whatnot. And you hear horror stories of things that happen at daycare, like kids getting hurt or lost or things like that. But I know that there are good things as well. I know for my mom's sake, just her health and being able to have that break with him being in daycare is good. And then when he does go with her, she'd be able to give him like the kind of attention and fulfill the needs that he has. I think another pro would be maybe that I wouldn't feel guilty putting the burden on her of watching him all the time. And I think it'd be good for him. I mean, he's getting to the age now where preschool's definitely around the corner, so just to be in a structured environment where he has to listen and things like that would be good.
I would respond to her with, I'm glad you had the last piece about thinking about something that would be good for Andre, because all of the good things you could think of beforehand were about taking care of your mom, which is, I'm not devaluing that, that's really important. But I'm really hopeful that you could think about things that could be positive for him as well. And one of those is, as you said, that he would have he would have experience in school before he gets to preschool. Anything else that you think would be an advantage for him? You can have help from your mom and your sister too, they might think of things.
I think if she would put him in a daycare on the base that her friends use, that maybe he could have more experience with other children that are going through not being with their parent, and maybe he could have something in common and develop long-term friendships with similar children.
What does daycare, like, on the base look like?
A lot of times there's like military husbands or wives, and whether one of them's gone, the other one's at work, and so they can't watch them. So it's just like a normal daycare for normal kids. It's just all of the kids' parents, either one or both, are in the actual military. So it just depends on how old they are. But when they're younger, they don't. It's not like they learn about the military or anything like that. They all have that commonality.
So, would you be able to see him then, if he was?
Not if I'm deployed, because the base is in the States. If I'm deployed overseas, I would be able to.
Was that what you meant? Would you be able to see him?
Yeah, I didn't know if, like, I don't really know what deployment looks like, I guess. So it's like, is she gonna come back after, like, a certain time, and then she could be with him in the evening or whatever?
Oh.
I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, in this case, deployment would mean she's out of the States at a base in Iraq or something.
Yeah, I still didn't know
so,
though if they
yeah.
provided that. Like, I hear children traveling to
Oh,
different
yeah.
countries all the time.
True, some bases, I'm gonna pause this for